welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing good. My name is Mishka, and in today's video we will be doing part 2 of this Ravenwood Occult Academy build. If you haven't seen part 1, I would recommend going to see that, even though I did put previews of what part 1 entailed. But I built the bones of this build in that video, so I think it's maybe a little bit more important to see. And I also gave a little bit more context to the build in that video. So before we move too far into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content and you want to see more. And yeah, let's get into what we're doing today. So in part 2, or let me say in part 1, like I said, we built the bones, and then or the structure of the build, the outside areas, and then we furnished the first floor. On the first floor we have 2 common rooms or seating areas. We have a 2-story library, which is still one of my favorite rooms in this build, and then we have a bar area, 2 bathrooms down there, and that grand staircase entryway. I think that's also one of my favorite parts of this build. It's difficult to choose, I'm not gonna lie. And now that I've finished the entire build, I think those 2 things still stand out to me, but there may be a few rooms that I also like. You can let me know which one your favorite one is. So yes, now I'm just decorating the second floor, and on the second floor we will have classrooms as well as on the third floor. So we have in this build a potions class, or my idea of a potions class, herbology, or actually my idea of herbology, because in the game I think with herbology, obviously the planting skill and then herbalism from outdoor retreat would make sense, but I don't have outdoor retreat. And also because I built this classroom inside, I would have loved to, if I thought of it earlier, include a greenhouse to actually, you know, flesh out that plant idea a little bit more. But no, I just had a small classroom for it. So I chose flower arranging and then herbalism. If you do have outdoor retreat, um, you can use that in there. And then I also have a vampire lore class on the second floor. There are no bathrooms on the second floor, but there are a ton of bathrooms on the first floor, and then there's 2 small bathrooms on the third floor. So I guess, you know, your sim would have to run from the second floor quickly to get to the bathroom. This build is huge, so it does take a while for sims to get from place to place, but I don't mind it, you know. Yeah, so then I also included on the third floor we have Thantology, which is the skill that came with life and death. Then we have Gemology, which is crystal creations. I think it's called Gemology, the skill, but I combined it like with an astrology kind of vibe, because to me, the pack crystal creations gives off a dark academia astrology kind of feel, so I went with that in that room. And then for the third classroom is Seancing, which comes with paranormal stuff. So there is a lot of activities in this build. I I think there may be too many to set as activities if you run this as a small business, and it is by no means a small business. We are at 998,000 simoleons, so just under the 1 million simoleon mark. I'm surprised that it's that little because of just how much things are in this build, but I think it's because a lot of the items are kind of live edit and then debug, so that may be why the price is less than I expected it to be. So yeah, you will have to choose which activities you want to prioritize. I think attending lectures is important for the activities, and then also using vampire, werewolf, and those abilities. I think there are activities like that. And then using cauldrons, because can you believe it, but for some reason they did not add potion making or whatever the skill is that comes with the realm of magic. I cannot remember right now. On the board you cannot teach that skill, so you cannot have someone who is like high in the skill teaching it to other spellcasters. I think that's such an odd thing to leave out. Also, we have vampire lore, but we don't have classes for werewolf lore. And if I'm not mistaken, I've heard that werewolves come with or werewolves come with quite a lot of lore, and the relationship with vampires, and then the relationship between werewolves, spellcasters, and vampires. I think there's enough there to I've included that on the board. So I did include like a makeshift classroom downstairs in the basement for werewolves, but you can't actually teach them anything from there, which is just unfortunate in my opinion. So we are working on the second floor staircase area. And like I said in the first part, I wanted to really include a trophy section, because the idea is that this academy is, they produce the best students, they win awards, I guess. And so yeah, I included it in this section. It was a very awkward section that I had open here. And then I had this information board down at the first floor in front of the staircase, and I explained in the first video that I actually removed it and replaced it with a seal, which I got from the Castle Estates kit, and it just looks like a school's seal. And so I placed the information board up here, which is kind of perfect because Sims have to pass through this way to get to any of the classes on this floor. And so I feel like that information board can kind of express or show what kind of classes are going on, what's happening on this floor, and so on. And now I kind of wish that I included one on the third floor as well, but I did not. I also did not show it here, but I did include a ticket kiosk here, or an entrance kiosk, so that Sims could not actually pass without having to pay that. I also included one down at the grand staircase area, just so that you can make your money that way as well. If you do plan on running this as a small business, I, like I said, don't know which activities you would set, because there is so many things that you can teach in this class. Yeah, so the reason why I'm doing that with the chandelier is because if you use the longer one, it hangs really low. So I decided to use two of the shorter ones and then drop one of them lower with the tool mod. Then I had this awkward section over here. I explained in the first video that I like to create hallways in builds like these, and I like them to be dark and, I don't know, just capturing a certain kind of vibe when you go through the hallway. It's not a very long hallway, but it's long enough to where I am achieving what I wanted to achieve, basically. And then I had this clear wall. I don't like a clear wall, especially in a build like this, where I feel like every wall would be, there would be something interesting to see. And so I just found this bench. I think it's one of my favorite accent tables, not a bench, sorry, from Crystal Creations. And then the vase is from Vampires. The message, or the thing with the two letters in it, is base game, and then the plant is base game as well. Yeah, so the curtains are from Businesses and Hobbies, and let me tell you, this curtains just sticks out like a sore thumb, a sore thumb to me, with the objects that came with the pack. Like, the colors are very similar to the colors that you find in the new pack, but the curtains, the way that it looks, is just not what I imagined would come with the style of the pack. Because if you look at that pack, the style is very minimalist, Scandinavian, and I just have never seen those kind of curtains in there. But it could also be curtains that they added for if you want to build builds like these, or other kind of business builds. That's why they include that curtain. But then they didn't include a curtain to go with the aesthetic of the items for living spaces. Yeah, so I fought again with the freezers in the second part, which is the trim that you see on the top of the build. Every time you build a new wall, it changes on the outside. So I ended up just changing the second floor's trims to exterior trims, which stays there even if you change the walls. It looks a little bit different. It doesn't look as good as the freezers, but it looks fine. So we're working on the potions room now. And like I explained, you cannot actually teach that skill from the board. So you would have to choose in one of the activities to use cauldrons. And I guess then, Sims can use them and enhance that skill. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, we are building on the old Ravenwood estate lot in Ravenwood, obviously. I forget, I think it's in Gemology. The town is Gamelvik. Yeah. And it's on a 50 by 50 lot, which I did look up what the lot size is of the Magic Realms school, and that's unfortunately 50 by 40. So you wouldn't be able to place this lot there if you wanted to, which is unfortunate. And if I'd known earlier, I probably would have um placed or made it small enough to fit on a lot like that. But my intention was always to have this in Ravenwood, because for me, Ravenwood feels like a middle ground between all of the occult worlds in my head. Yeah, so I I would probably have to build something in future for that lot, because like I said in the first part, whatever they built there is atrocious. Like it doesn't give magical at all. And obviously, I feel like I would go in a different direction with that school. I would go a lot more whimsical. I would go um kind of like on the cusp of maybe fairy, and then fairy and what's angel call? I don't know what you call that, but like imagine Greek gods kind of idea. Yeah. I think I hope that I am explaining that properly, that you're getting the image in your head of what I'm trying to explain. But I don't know also if the objects that we have in the game will serve that kind of idea that I have in my head. But I can make it work. But that's definitely something that will be further down the line, not anytime soon, because this build was huge. I feel like I need fresh ideas for a build like that. And I would probably include dorms in that build. Yeah. But anyways, about what we're doing right now. So I'm placing down these cauldrons, and the cauldrons are huge. I did not know that they were that big. So I actually sized them down, and they work sized down. It's just like the animations are a little bit off. So the only animation that's really off is where the bubbles are at. The bubbles are higher than the where the cauldron, I guess, ends. And yeah, so the reason why there was kind of like a transition in this clip is I went to go and test it out to see what Sims would do with a cauldron that was smaller than what it usually is. And the animations wasn't that bad. It doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you can size up the cauldrons, but then you won't have, all of this space, I guess. Yeah, so I just placed down these tables. I like these coffee tables from the new pack, just because I can decorate the bottom section. And I also wanted a place for the book to fit into. I was going to use the recipe book, but I felt like it looked a little bit too modern for what I was trying to do in this room. So I decided to use this book thing from vampires, and it actually worked out quite fine. Then I cluttered up this place so much, but those cauldrons, the smaller ones, are from, I think, the Halloween kit thingy, spooky day stuff. I think that's what it's called. And then I placed down these measuring cups. It's not measuring cups. I don't know. I can't, the bottles, but I don't know what they called at the moment. The words are not coming to me. But I placed that down. I got it from Debug. And then I placed down the potion bottles from the Realm of Magic pack. And then those little bags with what looks like powder in them is from Cottage Living. And the idea is that it's like potion powder, I guess. That's why I placed them down there. And then I also found wands in Realm of Magic and placed that down on the tables as well, as if, they are working on the potions, and obviously they would need their wands to do so. Or at least in my school, they would need their wands to do so. And now I'm placing the potion bottles in the cauldrons. And the reason why is because when you go into love mode, and you can see that in the end clips as well, the potion bottles has things coming out of them, and it just looks so cool coming out of the cauldrons. It's like bubbling emojis and stuff. Like there's one with a skull with an X, there's hearts that comes out of it. There's one for, it kind of looks like the logic skills emoji or logo that comes out of uh the cauldron or the potion bottle, and I tried to match it up with the colors that I also chose for the cauldrons that shows on the inside, or that shows, yeah, on the inside of the pot. So that was that for this section. I mainly go in and I clutter up everything else. And then the two areas that I built in the back, that's gonna be like storage rooms. And so I'm gonna place like a whole lot of potions and stuff in there. And then I had this bright idea to place those things on the sides of the tables as well, but you would actually see that I placed it a lot higher than where they would hang from. So I had to lower it down with tool mod later on so that it kind of looks like it's hanging on the table. And then for the lights, I just changed it out because I wanted it to be darker in here, but for some reason I couldn't get it darker than what it was. And I even used black wallpaper and, you know, the dark flooring, but it just was not as dark as I wanted it to be. But it's fine. It still looks really nice in here. So you can see me there raise that thing down to fit on the desk. And then I placed down candles as well. Maybe it was all the other lights that I placed in here, the reason why I couldn't get it dark enough. And I was gonna mention this. My next build, I was planning on having it be a museum and then a place where you can teach archaeology. But I wanted to place it in Jungle Adventure because it makes sense to me in that world. Unfortunately, though, you can't own small business lots in the Jungle Adventure world because it's a vacation world. So yeah, I'm really sad about that. I don't know if it even makes sense then to do it, because it wouldn't like be able to be in the place that I wanted to be in. I don't know. Let me know. I felt like it would be really fun if you had someone who lived in the jungle adventure world to teach them about the local culture, to teach them about archaeology before they go on their, you know, adventures to go and search for the objects, kind of like a safety thing, and then also what to do with the objects that they find afterwards. In my head, that makes such a cool storyline. But yeah, unfortunately you can't place it there. And I know that there is a mod that you can use to make the jungle adventure world like a residential world, so then you don't have to, or then you would be able to, I think, maybe, but I'm not sure if it would work with that necessarily. Yeah. So on the other side, you saw I just did a table, and that was a table of different tools that they would use in this room. I think I like to do those things because honestly, I've done it in so many of the builds now. But I just used a combination of debug items to create that, place down extra cauldrons, mortars, and pestles, because I think, you know, when they are making potions and stuff, they would have to grind up different plants and herbs and so on to make their potions. There was also jars with animals and stuff in it, or insects, and I placed those down as well. And I think that may be base game or get to work, I'm not sure. So I had this extra one, and I'm so glad that I kind of made it a book place, because what I had to do in the other room was so tiring and tedious because of how many things I had to place. But I just made this a extra book reading area. I guess what I could have done also was made an office for the teacher that teaches here, and made it where they research and whatever. But you know, that idea just came to me. So I guess not then, but I guess that's an idea for you if you want to change it to that. Um, and I didn't want to place any reading books anywhere else because I want to encourage Sims to go into the library. but I didn't know what else to place there, if I'm being honest. And then I remembered we have scales in the game, in the base game, and I decided to place that on the tables as well so that they can measure out correctly the different potion or the different quantities of things that they would place in the potions. Not that they do that, but just for realism. I say realism, but this is not exactly a realistic build. I know that it's very niche, but I am obsessed with anything occults. I love occults. I grew up in the era of, Vampire Diaries and Twilight and all of those things. So those and Harry Potter. So it just makes sense for me to build something like this. Nothing has made me happier to build these kind of things. Because it kind of makes you think outside of the box a little bit, uh, which I enjoy. It challenges you in a different way to build occult builds, I think. So, yeah, I was just creating a storage closet here. And these shelves from Jungle Adventure, I think they'll show up in my nightmares a little bit because I placed so many of them, obviously, which means I had to decorate each shelf. And for some reason, nothing fits on the second and third shelves of these shelves. Nothing. So I had to raise up everything and then use um tool mod to place it on the second and third shelves, because you can see it's only snapping to certain parts of the shelf. So this took me maybe an hour and a half to finish up, because I also had to look for objects that I had to place in here. I kind of wished I had maybe like eco lifestyle or something else, because I know these debug items that would have fit in here. But yes, I kind of transitioned there to the finished product because honestly it took me so long. But it's a combination of debug and then decorations in the game that I placed over there. A lot of the things are from Magic Realm, and once again from Cottage Living, yeah, that I placed down there. And then I had this open wall again, so I just decided to place down extra wands for the students. And that little hole in between the two circle storage rooms, whatever you want to call it, I was first gonna make that like a doorway through to the next room where you have the plants class. I'm gonna call it the plants class because I don't know. It's not the biology because that doesn't really exist in the game. I mean, you have herbalism and whatnot, but like I said, I don't have outdoor retreat. So I guess to me it's the plants class. And I really love these windows from a realm of magic. Yeah, I love the flowers on them, so it just made sense to place them in here. And the reason why I have that box over there, that room, the small room, is because the roof is cutting into the room, so the lighting is weird. It looks as if there's a wall missing if you have the whole room open. And so I just cordoned it off so that the lighting in here would be normal, and I didn't make that usable because yeah, we had more than enough space to do everything else in here. And so we are moving on to the plants room. And I found these shelves from Cottage Living, I think. Yes, I like the look of it, and my idea was to place planters on the because because it's inside. I don't know if I explained this in the video before, but because it is inside, it just didn't make sense to make it a full scale planting area. And yes, you can have plants inside, but to me, it just didn't make sense. I felt like I needed to have a greenhouse for it to be that way. So I just placed down a few planters. Obviously, they are not functional because of how high they are. So they are just, for the looks of it. Yeah, and then I decorated the bottom shelves and also the top shelves really with debug again, cottage living, base game, and I once again placed down these freaking jungle adventure shelves. But the thing is, they are the best shelves for the look that I wanted, you know. We don't have any other shelves like that really, or I don't. So yeah, and then I placed that little cow plant thingy. I think we got it from Life and Death, I think so, but it comes in this geometric shape. And I sized that geometric shape down, and it just so happened that the cow plant didn't shrink as well. But when I came back, it disappeared. So I was very sad about that. And then I placed the my wedding stories cake topper, the cow plant one instead. But that also disappeared. And I think it's because you can't place anything like that in the plant as the game is not really recognizing it or whatever. Or it could be because it's debug items and they just disappear, because you know with some debug items, when you are in love mode, they will disappear or they won't really exist there. So you can see the cow plants, they are there, but not really. So the idea was that it was gonna be like a mandrake, yeah, but didn't work out that way. But feel free to try and place them again. Like I said, you have the wedding stories cake topper, and then you have also that I think it's in the plants category, or it could be in decorations, but um it's a little geometric shape with a cow plant inside of it. And then I think the final room thing that I did do for this room was to decorate this back wall. And I just put some oh no, sorry, I didn't do the shelves yet. But I put some information plant stuff on this back wall. Nothing really too crazy. You can see by plant stuff, I mean those paintings from A Realm of Magic. It looks like they have informations about the different kinds of plants that you would use for uh well, this is not potion making, but I guess herbalism or herbology. I don't know, guys. But I think you need to use your imagination a little bit with these bowls. And there you can see the cake topper that I was speaking about for my wedding stories. And then I researched herbalism from Outdoor Retreat, and apparently you can make those on the balms and stuff on a stove. So I included a stove for that purpose, so that if you want to have this be a herbalism class or a flower arranging class, which doesn't really make sense, but like I said, imagination, I included those things. And so that was that area. On those shelves, once again, just use debug items. For the jars, that jar is from For Rent, and it's for the marbles. And what I did with that is I raised different plants, even like normal plant decorations, and I sized them down really tiny to fit in those jars, so it looked like there was different kinds of plants in jars on the shelves. And then for this staircase area, I just made whatever that instrument, what is that instrument called? It's from vampires, an organ. I don't feel like that's right. But I just put that down there. I was gonna put a grand piano, but this one just felt more like it would be in this build. And I actually saw a sim autonomously playing on this instrument. So that's good. At least you know you don't have to set that as a task. That sims actually do that. And then for the statues at this point, you know, I'm running out of statues to place in this build because I've used them so many times, and I really like the ones from vampires, but there's only so much that you can use, so they are repeated throughout the build. And then I tried to make some of my own using the stand from vampires, or the statue stand from vampires, pedestal, I don't know what you would call it, from that pack. And then placed an object from decorations on there and sized it up like I did with the bird thing that came with, I think, Life and Death, maybe. And then just to create some continuity throughout the build, I placed these planters everywhere. With a tree in it, you'll see it down on the first floor as well, and I carry it up to the third floor, and also in the basement as well. So the basement came about like last night. I was like, here is nothing in here that even reflects werewolves. So 12 o'clock at night, I got the idea to make a basement for the werewolves. But we will speak more about that when we get to that. We are now in the vampires law class, and I was contemplating what colors to go with in here, but I just decided to go with a deep purple because I really like the purple from the vampires pack. And yeah, I wanted to go with those big curtains, but I decided to go with these. They have like a blackout effect, which I think was so nice for this room, because I did want it to be dark. If vampires are going to be in here, then it probably should be nice and dark. And then I did end up placing or removing those windows that's behind the board, and then placing down the bigger curtain that you saw me place on the window before. I went with a dark Victorian goth aesthetic in this room that makes sense for vampires. I like that every room kind of feels like its own little thing. Every room has its own story. You can see it's meant for a specific um occult, but then the rest of like the common rooms doesn't really point to any occult, which is what I wanted, to do. Or not the common rooms, but the common areas like the stairways and all of those things look like any occult would exist in that place. Except maybe like for werewolves, like I said in the first part, because for me, werewolves aesthetic in this game is very grunge. It's nothing like this. But then again, I feel like in every kind of movie we've seen about werewolves, it's the same as well. I don't think we've ever seen a werewolf done with a Victorian aesthetic, or maybe not just from what I've watched. Yeah. So I was just decorating this up with lots of candles, which I know, with vampires, that feels a little weird to put candles everywhere, especially because in some movies, they die by fire. Um, oh, that's the only way to really get rid of them. But this is a game, so it's fine. Where I don't think they die by fire. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I just recently had an interaction with vampires in this game. My sim was asleep, and in comes Vlad. I didn't place down the garlic and stuff that I know you're supposed to place down. And he does this trick on her, I guess, to make her or to have her under his control, and then does vampire things to her, which I don't want to say here because I don't know if you can even mention what he would be doing on YouTube. But yeah, so that was my first interaction, and I was like, what the hell is happening? Because I haven't had a vampire do that and come to me, or come to one of my sims and do that yet, and I am yet to play as a vampire in this game. I just made a seating area in this small area. It was gonna be dead space anyways, and the reason why I placed down another table with that plant on it and then put it into the other table is because when you size down tables in the game and you try and place anything on it with a tool mod, it won't recognize it. For some reason, it will disappear. So just as a failsafe, I put it on a different table that was the size of the size down table so that it would be there. And it was there the next time I logged in or logged into the game or played the game. Yeah. And then for the desks, I used, I think this is a base game one. Yeah, base game. That open turned over book is from Comfy Gamer. The other book with the potions or the things on top of it is from the wolf pack. What is it? Werewolves. And then yes, for the back section, I didn't know what to place on here. There isn't a lot of other paintings for vampires. Most of them have Vlad and stuff on. I don't want to place Vlad everywhere. And then I guess the other two families that comes with those paintings, but I didn't want to place them either because they're also everywhere. So I just placed on a board, and then I did the one from werewolves that are scratched just because I didn't place that one anywhere yet. And then for this planter, I was looking for something that wasn't green. I wanted purple, something purple, and I found this deep purple plant. It may be from the Moroccan kit. Is it called Oasis Courtyard? Yeah. Or it could be from Movie Hangout stuff. It's one of the two. But it was just this nice, beautiful, deep purple. And the plant that I was placing it in had a lot of space in it. So I decided to just size it up to make it look as if it fit nicely into the planter with a tool mod. Tool mod always comes in clutch, you know. So yeah, I think that was it for this room. And then I do change out that one from the painting from Vintage Glamour, like you see me do there. Oh, and I did create a small area on the other side of the wall with just like accent table, as you see me doing now. Accent table, and then I placed some clutter. The hourglass is from Life and Death. That other animal thingy is from vampires, and that is an urn from Life and Death as well. And then I placed the trunk down there. I don't remember where the trunk is from, but just to fill up the space under the chair. And then I do end up also placing a shelf from Life and Death, and just cluttering it up with some objects, like I think these books on there. And yeah, I raised up the book from Werewolves, and then this music box as well from Life and Death. I really like that music box. It's super cute. And then that was all for the side of the wall. And then I just placed another chair on the other side where the bookshelves are. And yeah, that was all for the vampires room. I felt like I could have done a little bit better in the room, especially with the board situation. But the problem is, or the reason why I think that way, is because the board is very modern. I wish that there was maybe like an older version of the board that they included in the pack, but it's fine. I was trying to find other ways in the other classrooms to hide the board. You see me do something with spandrels and columns in the potions classroom, but I think I eventually just gave up because honestly it wasn't working out. And then now we are finally on the third floor. And on the third floor, you will have your Thantology, Seancing, and then the Gemology slash astrology room. Even though we don't really have astrology, I just like the decor from, or the astrology decor from, you have some in werewolves, and then you have a lot of it in crystal creation. So I wanted to use that and go with that aesthetic. Also, to me, crystals and, you know, the moon, the stars, they kind of have some correlation. So it made sense to do that over here. And then through this big door, I actually included a dueling or a practice room for them to practice their magical abilities, I guess. But this room was looking like it was more for vampires and spellcasters. So that's why I felt like there was nothing in here really for werewolves. And I decided to include this section for them in the basement. And I used the doors from Realm of Magic because I felt like the doors had some kind of, or gave some kind of idea of what was in that room or in that classroom. And then for the seancing or the medium skill, and then for Thantology, I placed life and death doors because there are skulls on it, and I guess, you know, it represents death and whatever. Then for this section in the back, that's actually just a room that leads out to the two balconies on either side. But those balconies also have doors in their classroom. So there's several ways to get to the balconies. That was all I did in that room. And then I did two small bathrooms because I felt like if your sim is on the third floor and they need to go to the bathroom, they are going to have such a struggle trying to make it to the bathrooms at the bottom because of how big this bowl is. And so I just decided to use those two spaces to include two small bathrooms. And you can see the look of this general area over here is a little bit different to the one on the second floor, and then to the one on the first floor, which I like. I feel like it gives a different ambiance, but still the same. It still looks like it's from the same build. Yeah, but there wasn't much to the bathrooms. I placed down the sinks, I think, are all from the sinks, and the toilet is from the magic or the realm of magic back. Yeah. And then the core of the wall decor that I placed down is from Get Famous. And so now we are in the dueling room, and I wanted to create like a stand, like where you would observe sports events from. Not that the Sims really, I haven't seen Sims watching other um magical creatures to duel or whatever. I did play as a spellcaster already, and I didn't see them observing me. Yeah, I went with the red first, but it actually goes into black. And these are functional, by the way. This stand situation that I'm creating, it's just that you would obviously have to place your sim down there to watch what they are doing. So it's more so for the look of it, but they can sit there if they wanted to sit there. It just doesn't function in the way that I'm sure we all would love it to function. I also did something similar in the werewolves dueling room, but I guess that would be open to all occult types because there's no way to just lock it for werewolves. And so they can either duel in here or they can duel downstairs. I wish there were ways to kind of cordon off an area for a certain occult, or if you chose a classroom to be like, you can only teach that skill in this classroom. But that's just not how the board works. And maybe it's better that it's not that restrictive so that you have more leeway with the stories that you are trying to create in the game and whatnot. And as you can see, I'm struggling with the freezes again. I freaking hate those freezes. I don't think I would place them again in such a big bowl, just because you constantly have to go around the bowl and check and check and check that all of them are in place. So if you see, from the version that I uploaded to the gallery, this is now on the gallery. You can go and download it and explore. If you see any of the freezes out of place, just know that I tried my best. I really did. You'll see on the second floor, there's no freeze there. I just use an exterior trim, which is different. So it's different from the other levels, but it still looks fine. It looks fine. Yeah, so then for the last things that I did in this room, I placed down torches from Life and Death. Those torches are kind of wild. The fire that comes out of them is intense. And then I also placed down the night statues, because you can't go wrong with night statues in a build like this. But that was basically all. I later came in and placed down the tarot paintings with the swords, because this is a dueling room, I guess, so it made sense in here. And now we are in one of my favorite rooms as well. This is competing with the library, but not. I think the library so far outweighs this room. So this is the class where you'll teach gemology. I think that is the skill that comes with crystal creations, and we went for a black and purple in here as well, and some blue. I wanted to make it different from the colors that was in the vampire law class, but I didn't like the other swatches of this wallpaper from Crystal Creations for this room specifically. So I decided to rather just have purple and black in here as well, which is fine. And this actually leads out into a tower that I created. So I guess you can call this the astrology wing or astrology tower, because I placed telescopes up there for your sims to go and observe the sky, I guess. And I also placed a sundial on the balconies as well. And then here you see me try and create something different with this board. um I actually forgot to test this out. So if it doesn't work, if your sim can't use that board, you know why. You just need to remove the crystals. I will say that I did forget. There was so much to test out in this bowl that I did forget to test that out. So I just wanted something different with the board to make it look like it fit in the room. Maybe that doesn't look like it fits in the room. I was contemplating removing those gems, but I like the color of them. It really brought out the purple in the bold. And then for this section, just decorated it with crystals, and also the boxes or the shelves are from Crystal Creations. A lot of the things that I used in here is obviously from Crystal Creations, from that accent table to the things on the walls, the plants, the lights that you see standing by the board is all Crystal Creations. I bought that pack before I built this because I thought that there would be useful things to use in this build, and also I just wanted it for all of the objects that you have and the jewelry, because if I ever want to do another jewelry store down the line, um then I can use this pack to do so. I never built a jewelry store on this channel in this way, but I have posted before of me doing jewelry stores, and that was a CC version. So now I have enough jewelry to not have it be a CC version. The only thing with the jewelry stands that comes from Crystal Creations is that they are very brown, which I don't want to create a brownish jewelry store. So I feel like that is a little bit limiting, but it's okay. And then I placed on these lights. These lights made it a lot lighter again than I wanted it to be in here. But then again, I also went on to place all of these starlights from Love Struck. So I guess it was going to be light in here anyways, but it just looked so pretty and it looks so good at night. I don't know if I placed that down yet, but I used the night sky ceiling paint from Horse Ranch, and it just looks so good. I changed all the colors in here to um purple light so that at night it it's magical in here in my opinion. And then once again creating just like a general, here's your tool station for what you're going to use in the class. I wish that there was a different shelf for that, but that seemed like the best shelf to place in here, or accent table. And then I found these ones, these shelves from Crystal Creations display shelves, and I just thought that was a perfect place to kind of have all of the gems that they could then go and pull from to use in the class. Not that I think that they can do that. And then for the chairs on this table, I did end up changing those chairs to the ones from A Realm of Magic. It's black ones with the twigs around it, or it looks like twigs around it, because it just looked better to me in the space. And I found that thing, I think it's called a tarot something, in live edit for life and death. Yes, it's that back. I just glitched out for a moment. And then I just decorated these shelves. These are from Crystal Creations as well, with different decor from the, like these werewolves, modern lux, cozy gamer. Yeah, just like a lot. Anything that fit there. And then those lights are from movie hangouts. Yeah, I like the purple hue of it. And then for this room, I just made charging stations, which is what you use with Crystal Creations to charge your jewelry or your crystals or whatever you make, so that they give you certain abilities. And that's what made me include this in here, because with the gems or the objects that you make from the pack, they do give your sims, even if it's just a moodlet, it changes your sims or makes your sims life easier in certain ways. And I thought that was kind of also like a magical ability, and why I included it in here. Also just to add another skill other than the other ones like associated with the cults. I can see werewolves maybe being into gemology, and yeah, I hope I'm referring to that skill properly. It may not be gemology, and I'm calling it gemology the whole time. Also, guys, when I say a replica, I mean recreate. I've been saying it a lot. Like, I tried to make a replica of this. I tried to make, I used it a lot. But what I actually meant was a recreation, because a replica means to make an exact same thing of something. But really, can I ever make an exact same thing of something? So if you hear me say replica, I actually mean recreation. I don't know what it is with those two words. But we have moved on to the seancing medium room, and you can teach a medium class with a board. So I thought that this was a perfect way to incorporate ghosts and that skill into this bold paranormal things. I don't really like those kind of things, I'm not gonna lie, but they're kind of scary. So I did include it here, but I don't think I'd ever play with the paranormal stuff, but I just like the items from them. And the colors in here was a little bit kooky for me because I don't usually see maroon, pink, and blue being a thing, but I love how it turned out actually. It just all comes together and makes sense in the end. I did a lot of chop and changing in this room because of the colors. The colors were throwing me off a little bit. I did chop and change quite a bit. So you'll see there's a lot of cuts in the clips, but it's because things went from this side and then it went to the other side, and then I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna show all of that nonsense. Let me just put in when the final changes was made. And then for the lights, I did place vampires, chandeliers in here, but I actually ended up just removing it. And now you see me decorating that corner with the light or the lamp, but I also end up removing that. And I placed these candles from Love Struck instead. And then on this side of the wall, I used the tarot cards from Life and Death. Some of them looked really nice to go in this room, so that's why I thought that they made sense. And the reason why I went back to the other room is because I actually used this in the Gemology class first, but I ended up removing it and then forgetting that I removed it. So I wanted to see which paintings I placed in that room. But then when I went back, I was like, oh, I don't actually have that there. And then for the side, I just ended up putting one shelf with something on top. I think that was all. No, 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 no. I put those shelves on that wall, and then I did something else on that shelf. I didn't show myself placing down this fireplace, and it's because so much things happened in between. So many things that I kind of just wanted to cut out. That fireplace is from paranormal stuff, and then the candles once again is from Love Struck. And then the birds, I think, on top as well is from Love Struck. Then I removed the lights that I did place because I wanted to be darker in here, and ended up placing these wall lights from paranormal stuff. And you can see there that I did remove the lamp that was in the corner. It was just, the blue was just a little bit too bright. And so this was supposed to be the last thing that I worked on. This is for the Thantology skill, which is, I think, the study of death in the game, and it comes with life and death. I think it's a lot about reaping and just learning about what happens to the souls once they die off in the game. I included this here because I thought it was also like an ability that you would teach, an occult kind of ability. And I'm, like I said, I had the room and I just needed to include things. So I thought this was a good addition to the school. And the theme that I went in this room, or the color theme, was green and black. I didn't really do that again since I did it downstairs in that one room with the dinosaur head. So I thought I would include it here. If there was a dark blue in this bookshelves and the colors or the objects that came with life and death, then I would have chosen dark blue instead, but there wasn't. It was only this dark green. And it just so happened that the desk from paranormal stuff back matched with the greens of the bookshelf, so that's where that desk is from. And then the chairs are from life and death, and all the posters are from life and death as well, because I feel like um the Grim Reaper posters are mainly from life and death. And I was contemplating the color a little bit, so I changed it to gray, but it does go back to green because I felt like there was a pop of color needed in here. I was gonna go just with black, but I ended up just changing it to green and then rather changing the tables to black so that there was still this darkness in the room, because once again I did want the rooms to be very dark up here, which may not be, you know, some people's cup of tea, but I feel like it adds to the ambiance and also the room. Oh no, I think my delivery might be coming or outside right now. Okay, it's on its way. So maybe I can finish this voiceover before he comes and my dogs go absolutely insane. But yeah, so that was the last thing that I really do in here. I place those paintings, place a lot of posters and informational. Is that word right? Posters with information on the walls, and then the shelf again from Life and Death. A lot of things in here is from Life and Death just because that goes with the pack, I mean with the skill. Sorry, yeah, it goes with the skill. And then some hourglasses to show that, you know, time is ticking. In life, time is ticking. That's such a morbid thought, but anyways, this room is kind of morbid because the skill is morbid. And that was it for this. And then there is a section on the balcony, but there is a tower, and that tower was just going to be nothing, so I decided to make it something. So I actually moved the, I think I forget what that thing is called, but where they get the assignments from with the crow on the top, that thing, I moved that into that tower, made a door. But I guess, you know, if you wanted to, you could make that an office for whoever is teaching the skill. But that's it for the main structure. So now after this, we're gonna go into the basement because this was supposed to be the last day. I had finished editing this video. I was done with everything as far as I was concerned with this build. And then I get the, you know, the idea to go and place something in the basement for werewolves because there was nothing else in here for them. So I created just a little space in the basement. I don't like to build in the basements in the game just because I don't like how it looks to play in the basement of 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 builds in the Sims 4. But this was the only space I could find for them because I couldn't go to the fourth floor. Even though there is a fourth floor, there's a roof going through it, so you wouldn't have been able to see into there. It would have been it yeah, it wouldn't have looked nice. So I had the idea to place this in the back, and there's this section in the back of the library that because I placed the stairs there, um, there was nothing else that I could do in that back part. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna place a staircase from the outside so that it's like a secret entrance into this werewolf cave thingy under the school, um, in that section, because otherwise you could have done nothing else in there. And it worked out nicely. Sims can get down here because I didn't even give it long and they were down here. And it's probably because I put exercise equipment down here and, you know, Sims and their exercise. And then I also did some research on werewolves. And apparently werewolves can lock themselves away when they are raging. I think if I read correctly on the website that I was reading from, they can lock themselves away. So I made safe places for them to come and lock themselves away when they are at school if they are raging. Um yeah, so I made it look like a jail, but the idea is not that they would be jailed here, you know. So I didn't want it to fully make it look like a jail. But I did put some heavy duty gates down there. I put gates in the front of the main door as well. So it's like, you know, you're coming in at your own risk. I don't know what they would be doing down here. So that's what these rooms are for. They are for when they rage. And I made two extremes. So, or two levels of raging, I guess. So the ones that you see through is werewolves, I guess, that are not fully or do not feel that dangerous. I don't know. I don't know. I just wanted some of them to to be like you could look through the gate and see what was happening. And then I placed these heavy duty doors down for other rooms. And you can actually see when you go in there that the room with the heavy duty doors, which are from werewolves, the rooms look more messy than on the other side, I think. I tried my best, but like I said, this was at 2 a.m. in the morning. Me making this because, or I think I finished around 2 a.m. in the morning, finishing up this section. I'm a night owl, so my best ideas, I think, come to me at night. It makes me happy to be up at night, and this may be a controversial opinion, but I actually hate sleeping because I feel like it steals time away from other things. That's just, I know a lot of people love sleeping, and it's actually like a personality trait for some people, but I do not like sleeping. So it makes me happy to be up at night because I feel like that's my best time. So yes, I did place bathrooms. In hindsight, I don't know why, because I know werewolves can urinate anywhere. So I did place some stains on the walls to reflect that, and also cracks and claw marks and all of this stuff. But if these are nice werewolves, which I hope they would be, because remember, the best students come to Ravenwood Occult Academy, they would use the bathroom even in during their ages. And then I placed down a bed as well, just in case they wanted to stay or whatever. Someone asked me if if I was placing dorms in this build, and I wish the build is big enough to do that, because I could have done more basement space for dorms, but I just felt like there is so much objects in this build already that it doesn't make sense for dorms. So if I ever build schools in the specific world, so like in Glimmerbrook, in the one that comes with vampires, and then the one that comes with werewolves, those will have dorms. But there's like such little lots there that I just don't know if having schools in there would make sense. So then I also built a gym for werewolves. I don't know what else they can do to own these skills other than researching and raging, and I guess there's certain things that they can eat and hunt and stuff, but they wouldn't be able to do that in here um to help them out with this skill. And then I that's why I placed the jump. Basically, I almost lost my train of thought. And then for those chains, I guess they can do pull-ups for the chains. I don't know. I wanted something different than the other gym equipment that we have in the game, because we just get the same ones all the time, all the time. And you know what was diabolical? When they included a weights rack in Lovestruck and it wasn't functional, and they had some in the promo holding a weight. Diabolical, honestly, because I was so excited by the prospects of finally having weights in this game. And then it comes and it was not functional. That is so sad. But yeah, I finished up this gym area. And then the bars that I place over there, I think it's bicycle racks, but I've seen those kind of bars in the gym before. In my gym, they have it. And I think people use it for like other kinds of training. And I was gonna have a seating area here, and I was contemplating adding maybe a bar or a coffee station or something. But I just made a classroom because well, hopefully, well, it's not really, you can't really do anything. You can't teach werewolf specific skills for this classroom or from this classroom. You can teach something on the board. You can have someone teach something on the board, but there's nothing that is specifically related to werewolves, which I feel was such a, I don't know, a letdown, because they don't have anything else that you can teach from there. And then once again, yeah, I just made the dueling room for, or the fighting thing, the ring, I don't know what you would call this, for werewolves specifically. I guess you can have other magical persons down here to fight werewolves, um but they would have to be let in, I think, is the idea in this arena. this was very similar to the one that I did upstairs. And I actually finished up the other rooms, and then I was like, okay, that's enough for werewolves. And then I was like, no, it's not enough. And I decided to include this um at 2, 3 in the morning, basically. So I was very tired doing this. I felt like it was a little bit lackluster, but when I went back in this morning, when I woke up, because I had a little bit of time before work to do it, and I checked it, and I was like, it's not that bad actually. Um, yeah, it worked out fine. So let me know which one is your favorite room. Like I said, for me, it is the library still, but I feel like the library, and then I really like the staircase in the first part and the bar. But for the second part, I think my favorite rooms is probably Gemology and potions, just because of the potions bubbles that happens, or that bubbles out of the cauldrons. That's one of my favorite parts. But yeah, let me know which one is your favorite. I'm very excited to hear. I hope you guys enjoy exploring this build as much as I've enjoyed building it. I hope it functions the way you want it to function. There shouldn't be any reasons why it shouldn't, but like I said, there is so many activities that you can include here that you might confuse yourself a little bit. This was more so a passion project for me. I said this in my first video. Then it was something that I wanted to be functional. I just wanted to build this because I felt like building it. I'm gonna leave this video over here. I think I am wrapping up the build now. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you do enjoy this content, and I can't wait to bring you more builds. This is one of my best builds, I think, and I think I will be uploading a full build tour so that I can memorialize it in the best way possible, so that maybe one day I can go back and look at what I did here and improve on it. But yes, let me know which one's your favorite, what you would like to see next, and I will chat to you guys in the next video. Bye bye.